Oh, how we all love Monday night. When my song is done, everyone's so pumped and high. Some won't stand for the anthem, and that's their right. Well, freedom isn't free. Our military means our liberty. So if you're gonna take a knee, take a hike. So get behind the stars and stripes, or just get the hell out and quit your gripe. So you got a long list of things that you don't like. Well, please do us a favor, all you America haters. If you're gonna take a knee, take a hike.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, if you're gonna take a knee, take a hike, right? That's right, that's right. Old Hank Jr. knows what to say. That's what old Hank Jr. knows what to say. What's going on, everybody? Daniel, you lost. You lost. Juan beat you. Juan beat you in here. Bluish hue, I think I saw that is TJ Jones. What's going on? Caislin's in the house. Norlord, red lights, oh yeah. Oh, let's see, Juan beat you, yep. Captain Obvious, this is live. So what's going on, everybody? We are back to work. I guess that's an understatement. I've been back to work since Tuesday. It's now Thursday. And so a lot of people know that I live in Southwest Georgia. And left home on Tuesday. Rebel Trekker, what's going on? I left home on Tuesday knowing the hurricane was coming. At that time, that's right, Snorlord, it doesn't. This is a life. This is definitely a life, and it's one I love. But knew the hurricane was coming. But at that point in time when I left on Tuesday, it was not predicted to be anything like it turned out to be. The wife and kids were home and pretty prepared. Luckily, my father-in-law and mother-in-law live just a few houses down. They have a generator. James Coker, what's going on, man? And so they rode the storm out at home. Like I say, it wasn't intended to be nearly as bad as it was. Never even considered going anywhere. There was never any evacuations advised, even in my area. It just, over the last day, it continued to grow and grow and grow in strength, even to the point that it impacted land down there. And we're not that close. All right, Rebel Trucker, there you go. We're not that close to the coast. I'm not exactly sure how many miles it is. I know by way of driving, it's 100 miles from Albany, Georgia to Marianna, Florida. They're on I-10. So that's obviously more than, straight line miles. But Marianna's not even on the coast. So I would say straight line air miles, we're probably 100 miles from the coast. And by the time the hurricane got to where we live, it was still a Category 2 hurricane, 100-mile-an-hour sustained winds. Came in late afternoon, early evening when it was getting dark, and was pretty rough up till about midnight last night. And luckily, thank goodness, everyone is all safe. We have just very, very minor shingle damage on the house. Nothing else is up with the house, so that is very, very lucky. We did lose all the trees in our backyard. Live in what used to be a pecan orchard, and every home has 3 to 4 pecan trees in the backyard, and they're all gone. They're all laid on their side, or if they're not laid on their side, they might as well be snapped off. I had 3 in my backyard. One is uprooted, one is snapped off about halfway up, and the other one is just a pile of twigs now. It's still standing, but it's nothing but twigs and sticks. So those all have to come down, or the ones already down. Yeah, pecan, because you don't drink out of a can of Coke. You buy a can of Coke. So there you go. But anyhow, kids' trampoline is half demolished. I had it staked down very good because we already lost one previously in a storm, so I staked this one down. And apparently I staked it down enough that a wind strong enough to snap a tree and blow one over did not move our trampoline, but it did fold the netting and the poles that hold the netting. It folded all that in like a monster truck ran over it, so we'll have to address that. But luckily, those are all material things and easily replaced and easily handled. Very lucky. Nothing like the devastation that you're seeing on TV down in Florida. Mexico Beach, Panama City. It absolutely horrendous. If you haven't seen it, I know we're all out here on the road. We don't get a lot of time to watch the news. If you haven't seen what's going on down there, you need to, when you get a second, take a look. It is absolutely mind-boggling at it is absolutely mind-boggling. Trucker Daddy, all these pecan trees are fully matured. A lot of people don't realize that pecan trees have a productive life, where as a pecan producing tree, eventually later on in life they slow that down. And a lot of times that's why you'll see, if you go by a pecan orchard, there'll be trees that have been cut down and there'll be a small one planted there. That's because they've stopped producing or slowed down the production on that tree. It's just, they have a life expectancy of their production. Now the tree will live long after that. And that's what this is. This is an orchard that has outlived its productive life. They still produce a small amount of pecans, not very many. And so they turned this into a neighborhood, and they cut down a lot of them to make room for the houses and the front yards, but then all the backyards have 3 to 4 standing in them. So these are full matured, not growing anymore, I guess, pecan trees. And it's a neighborhood, so all the houses are in a row, all the backyards are in a row, and all the trees are in rows, being that they were in a pecan orchard. And now they're all gone or soon to be gone because they are all destroyed. Picture from my wife looking down through the backyards. It almost looks like a tornado came through, even though we know it wasn't. It really is crazy. But like I said, that's the least of our worries, and that is the least of, if that's all we got, I count our blessings, because it could have been much worse. And, being a Category 2, 100-mile-an-hour winds, that could easily have severely damaged the house, put things through windows, blown windows out, sent things flying. Magnificently, my camper and my pickup truck were in the backyard along with the trees, not anywhere close enough that the trees could fall on it, but it rode the storm out without a problem. No issue at all. No damage of any kind. Didn't try to tip over, turn over, whatever. It's still sitting right there where she sat. And so I don't know what's up with that, but we got lucky with that. So it could have been much worse. Walnut trees. I'm not I know what a walnut is, but I'm not sure exactly. I know. Oh, Snorlord, that was just the iMovie app on the iPhone. It's actually very, very simple. You just use your camera, and record a video, and then stop it, and then record another one, and then you go through the iMovie app and just click the ones you want to piece together, and it pieces them together, and you upload it. Trucker Daddy says, I've saved apple trees, even if it doesn't produce much. I get what you're saying. I've had a hand with a fir tree, too, as long as you are safe. Oh, yeah. Well, these trees, the one that was uprooted, it could be saved, because I think it's, because it fell over, it would actually be somewhat intact. The other two that did not fall over, because they didn't just wave the flag and wave and fall over, like I say, one snapped in half, and the other is still fully intact as far as the main trunk and a couple of the major limbs, but the rest of it has all been broke off. And that's the thing about a pecan tree too, if anybody doesn't know it. They are what you call a self-pruning tree. And so you'll never see bare limbs on a pecan tree. They drop their dead limbs for you every day or every week. I can go out in my backyard and I've got several limbs all around these trees from where they prune themselves. It's a self-pruning tree. And so the one tree that didn't get snapped in half and didn't blow over, there ain't much of it left. It's a sad looking tree. So because of how poor it looks and the fact that I'm already going to have two that need to be replaced with smaller trees, I will probably just have that one taken down as well and replace all three, or maybe put 4 smaller, new trees, then let them grow. But anyway, like I say, at least that's all we've got to deal with. So Big Road said he's got only one tree in his entire yard and it's dead. Well, let me tell you a little funny twist about this tree situation. We live in a neighborhood, what I would call a cookie cutter neighborhood, mainly because I'm gone a lot and my wife didn't want to live out far away by herself, out of town. So we live in a neighborhood, nothing super fancy, but it does have a homeowners association. And in part of the homeowners association, it says you got to have 3 trees in your backyard. So I lost 3 trees, or 2 plus 1 I'm going to take down, so I got to plant 3 back. Isn't that some mess? I think that's some mess. Thomas Wilson checking in from the Talladega. All right, my brother and my 2 brothers, cousin, some friends of theirs, they're all there out in the campground somewhere. I don't know where at, but they're all there. Trucker Daddy says, I have a black walnut 6. Wait a minute, what does it say? 60 feet. I have a black walnut 6 or 7 feet. Started from a nut 4 years ago. Viking archaeology site in Newfoundland has proof of walnuts that magically made it that far north. Huh. Pine, gum, and pecan trees turn into pulp trees. That's right. The oaks. All right, Thomas, I'll talk to him. I'll tell him where you at. But anyway, so we're back to work. I I'm in territory that I don't run in a whole lot. Leaving the house on Tuesday. I was a little bit limited on freight. South Georgia is a little bit tough right now. And so I ended up getting a pretty good rate on a load going out of Albany to Houston, Texas. And picked it up Tuesday, delivered it Wednesday. And anyway, got to looking out of Houston there, and ended up getting a load. I'm headed to. All right, Thomas, you be careful now. Don't drink too much. Be safe. Enjoy the time there. I'm looking forward to the race Sunday. Ended up taking this load. I'm headed up. I'm actually in Oklahoma City now. Picked up down in Houston this morning, coming up to Stillwater, Oklahoma. And I have a load booked tomorrow, headed to Phoenix, Arizona for Monday morning. So we'll be headed westbound tomorrow. I like to go out there every once in a blue moon. Not something I care to do a whole lot because the rates are not that great going out and coming back. But it's a little bit something different, and I enjoy going out there. So, usually I end up doing it about once a year. Is about all that I care to stomach on my financial hit that comes from it. But so we're gonna go out to Phoenix, and I enjoy going out there. Jeff Beard, what's going on? So we're going to go out there. I enjoy going out west. I've never been to California. Don't plan to go. Have zero desire. Don't have a California legal trailer. Didn't want one. So we will not be headed west once we get to California. TJ, I also do not own chains. Never owned chains. Never had a chain on a truck. Never used a chain. Never put a chain on a tire. Don't plan on it. Have no desire to do it. So we won't be coming to Utah. We will be looking for a load headed right back east into Texas or Oklahoma or, wherever back east. Won't need them, but you got to have them, right? You got to have them on the truck. So, if you go to Utah, chances are you could end up having to go through Colorado, and I know that's where you got to have them. So, I thought it was October that you had to have them on the truck on 70 in Colorado. It might be a possibility for me then. Thought it was October. But there again, I'm telling you now, I'm ignorant on it because I've never used them, never put. Oh, okay, yeah. So see, as well as I do in the spot market, if I come to Utah, then I'm probably going to have to go back through Colorado to go back east. Unless I somehow drop back down to 40 through Albuquerque or something. I don't know. I'm not I'm not super familiar with the West, being that I'm from Georgia all my trucking career. Like when I was with Werner in the beginning, they never really ran me much past 35. And then when I was the owner-operator at Landstar, I didn't go west much. I did go to Seattle once, and I went out to the Four Corners one time. But I always do my west time running in the summer. This will be the latest I've ever gone west in the year. I've always done it in the summertime. Just because of the chain situation. I have zero desire. And so this will be the latest I've ever gone west on a run. But because I live in Georgia, nobody I ever worked for sent me west a whole lot. I've only been to the Portland or Seattle area a few times. Been to Phoenix a few times, Albuquerque a couple times, like I say, Four Corners. Never been in Nevada. I've been through Utah Never been to California, like I said. Don't care to go. Don't plan on going. Can't go, so that's fine with me. Hitchcock, yeah, we're good. We are good. Little damage on the house, just a little shingle damage. Everybody is safe and sound. No power. They're calling. Might be a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks before we get power back. So we're not sure how we're going to address that just yet. We do have a generator that my father-in-law owns, and the generator is big enough to run the camper. So we have that. It will simply be a process of maintaining a gasoline supply to run the generator to run the camper. So, not sure about how we're going to achieve that yet, because with no power in town, that also means you can't pump any gas if they even had any. So, I'm thinking they may head out of town this weekend with the camper and go somewhere north that has power to a campground, and also a place that they can get tons and tons of gas. Because if we're out of power for a couple of weeks, they're going to need a lot of gas to run the generator, to run the camper. Luckily, they own a camper as well. We own a camper. Both of those, if you know anything about campers, refrigerators and campers, unless they have a household unit, which some do now, our campers both have an RV refrigerator in them, and so they run on propane or electric. So they're both running on propane right now, which we both have plenty of, and that way they're not going to lose any food out of the refrigerators, because obviously they've been over 24 hours now with no power. So that was kind of part of the plan ahead of time, was to put that together. But that's going to be the biggest struggle now, is waiting on the power. Cell service is very sketchy. If y'all are headed to the southwest Georgia, southeast Alabama, the panhandle of Florida, I know as of noon today, there was still a stretch of I-10 in the panhandle that was closed around Marianna, I believe. So if you're traveling down in that area, if you're going in that area, just pay attention to all the traffic websites for the different states, because it's still a major mess. The further south you go, the worse it gets. Like I said, Marianna took a direct hit. Albany, Georgia took a direct hit. Donaldsonville, Georgia, right up through the line. Newton, Georgia. If anybody here has ever driven the road from Albany, Georgia south that goes into Marianna, Florida, there where the TA and the Pilot are, that road is almost the direct path this storm took up through southwest Georgia. And it just left a path of destruction. It came right over Marianna. So if you know where Marianna, Florida is on I-10, that's where the big Family Dollar distribution is, right off the interstate. There's a TA and a Pilot there, and they took a direct hit. I don't know what the status of the truck stops or the DC is there, but all through the area down there, there is very, very limited power. So if you're headed in that direction, make sure you stop somewhere ahead of time and get plenty of food to have in your truck, because the likelihood of getting to a truck stop and having something to eat there is slim. So also just pay attention to the road situation. It's a lot. It's a mess. Well, Hitchcock. Now, see, we glamp. That's what we call that camping, but it's glamping, glamorous camping. I'm not a tent camper. I can do tent camping in the winter when it's cool. I do not sleep when I'm hot, so tent camping in the summer is not happening. Plus, my wife and daughter, they don't like to have to scrummage around. Me and my son, middle of the night, you can go pee on a tree or whatever, but that's not so easy for girls. Yeah, CPAP, that's really what caused our issue in Albany, being that we're so far from the coast. Any hurricane that normally would come ashore would be way weakened, far weakened or weaker. I can't talk tonight. It would be far weaker than the level of when it hit the coast, when it came ashore. What's going on there? But this storm moved so fast that it was able to maintain its strength more than 100 miles into land. And it was nearly, they say Category 5 hurricane is 157 mile per hour sustained winds. This thing came ashore at 155. So I'm going to call it, you might as well call it a Category 5. And like I said, it went over 100 miles across land before it got to where I live, and it was still at 100 miles an hour. So it because of how fast it moved, it was able to be a much stronger storm over much more land, causing much more damage. And that's really what became the problem. It was still packing 50 mile an hour winds when it got all the way to Augusta, Georgia, on the other side of the state in the middle of the night, 3 and 4 o'clock this morning. Almost 24 hours on land, because I think it came ashore about 11 o'clock yesterday. And so 3, 4, 5 o'clock this morning, almost 24 hours later, it's still packing 50, 60 mile an hour winds all the way up in Augusta. So it was a fast mover, which allowed it to maintain its strength further, and that was the problem. So but like I said, lucky to be in the situation we're in. It could have been so much worse, and even parts of town where I live is a lot worse. A lot of the older homes. I'm not saying that newer homes are built any better, but maybe they haven't experienced as much wind and storms. The shingles are still kind of fresh. We lost, what I can guesstimate from the pictures and what my wife has told me, we lost maybe 5 to 10 shingles through the whole roof. You go a couple of blocks or half a mile to a section where there's much older neighborhoods, built maybe in the 80s, and there was no shingles left. Some plywood pulled up. We didn't get any wind strong enough to do any major building damage as far as leveling buildings or anything like that. There is some gas station canopies that are blown down, things like that. The main problem is trees everywhere down, trees everywhere. And being an older city, power lines, and they are down everywhere. I don't know, I haven't heard what an actual estimate is, but based on what I'm seeing on social media and what the news reported last night, the local news reported last night, I'd venture to say it's 80 or 90% of the town has no power. So that's the rough part. Jeff said his kid lives in Pensacola. Haven't heard from him yet, but I'm sure he's fine. This is his 4th or 5th hurricane to hit his house. Yeah, man, it is very sketchy cell service. I was texting my wife last night while the storm was coming through. She had very limited coverage on her phone. She couldn't pull up a radar. She couldn't pull up Facebook to watch the news. Our local news was broadcasting live on Facebook because obviously the power was out and you couldn't watch TV. Satellite, was of no use because you couldn't even turn the TV on. So they were broadcasting live on Facebook, and I was watching that and texting her on my business phone and keeping her updated on where the eye of the storm was at, when the strong bands were coming. And because they were sitting there in the dark at the house with really nowhere to go, and the house, she described it as just groaning, creaking, popping, wind howling like a train, and obviously very, very scary. My kids were scared to death. Of course, they're 6 and 7 years old. So, very rough situation. But she had cell service up till about midnight last night, and then nothing. No cell service this morning. Could not make a call of any kind, but I knew from talking to her last night that they were fine. And so I wasn't too concerned because I had talked to her up to the point where the storm had kind of died down. Niece, where are you located at that your power is back on? Oh, Phoenix City. Okay. Cousin lives in Phoenix City. Yeah, that's not that far. I wish we were so lucky there in Albany. But anyway, so they're gonna stay tomorrow. My wife has to work, and then I think they're gonna try to go somewhere for the weekend with the camper that, a little further away that has power, and try to stock up on gas to where when they come back they can have a supply of gasoline to run the generator to supply the power to the camper for who knows how long. At least for another week while my wife works, and then they can go back to another campground next weekend and go off and get some more gas. That might be the rotation of events for the next couple of weeks until power comes back, if it's that long. They're saying it could be several weeks, so it's just that bad. But we'll see. But Matthew B, are you still in Florida? What part? But anyway, it like I say, count your blessings. That just kind of goes to remind you of how fragile life is. There are some confirmed fatalities, and I don't see how. Hopefully not. But I don't see how with the video when you look at it of Mexico Beach and Panama City, Apalachicola, the level of devastation that is there. I don't see how that number can't go up. I hope not, but it's so bad. Like I said earlier, if you haven't seen the videos, the drone footage, the helicopter footage of these areas, go check it out. It is unbelievable. So just, take a minute, count your blessings. Life is fragile. It can end right now. And sometimes you need a little aha moment to make you think about that, because we all get caught up in the daily grind of life. And we don't think about it. We don't take time to appreciate the small things, the things we take for granted, the things that may seem trivial on a normal day-to-day basis, but mean a whole heck of a lot when you don't have it. So, luckily, me and my family made it out okay. There's some that didn't, and it easily could have been us. So just have to keep that in mind. Always take time to remember, take time to appreciate what you have. And I'm just as guilty of doing it myself. I get caught up in day-to-day things and don't appreciate things, and things like this kind of serve as a wake-up call. So Jeff says FEMA staged a bunch of power company trucks and crews in Georgia. We had 2 crews from South Dakota headed down. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I did see when I was leaving Tuesday, headed west on 10, because I went right down from Albany going to Houston. You go right down to Marianna and get on 10 and go west. And like I say, that was Tuesday afternoon. And I saw a lot of power trucks on 10 headed east, from Louisiana area and that way. I don't know where they were from, but there was a lot of them headed east on 10. So, yeah, that's right, Jeff. It makes you appreciate things. Count your blessings, right? Count your blessings. Because there's a lot of people that can't say that, unfortunately. The level of devastation that I saw is just, it's crazy. But anyway, I'm going to jump off here, guys. It's been 35 minutes. I appreciate y'all hanging around if you've been here the whole time, or if not, jumping in and jumping out. I know I'm not that interesting to hang around this long. But just wanted to give an update. I know that there's a lot of people that know that I live down in Southwest Georgia. Not that anybody cares, but anyway, I'm just kidding. Just wanted to give a little update of what was going on with the storm. And just let everybody know that we made it out all right. So we'll be headed west. Yeah, there you go, wagon train. There you go. That's right. Keep me on my toes. But anyway, we'll be headed west. If you're headed from Tulsa to Arizona tomorrow, or on that pathway, hit me up with a message on here, and I'll see where I'm at, what I'm doing, and so we're gonna go west and go to Phoenix, and I'm hoping to be out extremely close to there on Saturday, so I can shut down and do a 34-hour break and deliver Monday morning. Not sure. That's going to depend on how much trucking I'm able to get done tomorrow, so we shall see on that. But anyhow, y'all be safe, be careful, take time to stop and think about the things that we do have, the things that you do have, the things that you're blessed with, the small things that may seem trivial but will be huge when you don't have it. Take time to appreciate that. Call somebody that you don't talk to a lot, tell them you love them. That cousin that you don't talk to, or your brother or your sister, your mama, your daddy that you don't talk to. Take time and do it, because things like this happen every day, and life is fragile. And I'm just as guilty of it as anybody. So, y'all be safe, be careful, and remember, keep the shiny side up, rubber side down. We'll see you again.